All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to talk about something pretty amazing, the brain's internal model of fear. And we're going to tackle this incredible new research that asks a really fundamental question. I mean, really think about it for a second. Can you learn to be afraid of something that never, ever actually hurt you? It sounds a little weird, right? But it turns out this is an absolutely fundamental and very powerful way our brain builds its understanding of the world. Okay, so let's use a quick analogy. Picture this. A little kid sees a wasp buzzing around its nest. One day, that wasp stings her. Ouch! A direct, painful experience. But from that day on, just seeing the nest is enough to make her anxious. See? The nest itself did nothing to her, but her brain connected the dots. It inferred a threat. So there's actually a name for this. It's called inferred fear. And this isn't just simple learning. It's a higher-order emotional process where the brain takes a direct experience and kind of extrapolates from it. It builds this internal model of the world, linking clues together to predict danger before it even happens. Okay, that all makes sense with a wasp nest, but how do you actually prove this is happening in a controlled scientific way? Well, researchers at the Riken Center for Brain Science designed this really clever experiment with rats to isolate exactly how this process works. So here's the setup, and it's brilliant. First step, preconditioning. The rats learn a totally neutral association. They hear a sound, and then they see a light. That's it. Nothing scary. Next, step 2, aversive conditioning. Now they only see the light, but this time it's paired with a mild foot shock. The light is now a direct threat. Okay, so now for the crucial test. The next day, the researchers play only the sound. Remember, the sound was never paired with the shock. And what happened? The result was, wow, crystal clear. The rats froze in fear when they heard that sound. They had successfully inferred that the sound, which was only linked to the light, was now a predictor of the shock. This is definitive proof that rats, just like us, can learn fear through inference. Okay, so we see the behavior. But this is the part that just blows my mind. What is physically happening inside the brain to connect these two seemingly separate events? How does the brain build this internal model of fear? Well, scientists have pinpointed this fascinating mechanism that they call tag and capture, and it all seems to be happening in one very specific high-level part of the brain that's kind of like the command center for this whole operation. And that key player is the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex, or DMPFC for short. You can think of this as the brain's frontal office, the executive suite where all the complex cognitive processes happen. This isn't where simple fear memories get stored. This is where the brain does its higher-level thinking. So what's the DMPFC look like before any fear is introduced? Well, during that initial preconditioning phase, when it's just the sound and the light, researchers found that only a tiny fraction of neurons, we're talking about 6%, responded to both things. These are our co-responsive neurons. They're there, but they're just a small minority. But now look what happens after the light gets paired with the shock. That population of co-responsive neurons, it jumps up to 10%. That's a pretty big deal. The shock experience essentially tagged these specific neurons and captured them for the emotional event. The brain is literally, physically rewiring itself to create this inferred memory. It's just amazing. But you know, the DMPFC doesn't act alone. It's part of a bigger network, a sort of chain of command for processing fear. It works together with another, maybe more famous brain region to turn this complex thought into an actual physical response. Think of it like this. The DMPFC is the detective. It's the one putting the complex clues together, building the internal model, and making the inference. But the amygdala? That's the alarm. It stores the simple, direct memories like light equals shock, and it's the part that hits the big red panic button, triggering the physical fear response, like freezing. And here's how they proved this whole detective alarm connection. Using some really cool science, they were able to silence the pathway from the detective, the DMPFC, to the alarm, the amygdala. And get this, when they played the sound, the rat's fear response was gone. The inferred fear disappeared. But, and this is the kicker, When they showed the rats the light, they still froze in fear. That's the smoking gun. It proves this specific brain pathway is required only for these complex, inferred emotional memories, not the direct ones.
This is a truly groundbreaking discovery in neuroscience. But what does all this mean for us, outside the lab? Why does understanding inferred fear in rats matter for human experience?
Well, it gives us a powerful new framework for understanding really debilitating human conditions like anxiety disorders and PTSD. I mean, in these conditions, fear often generalizes from a specific traumatic event to a whole wide range of seemingly unrelated triggers. This research gives us a potential neural mechanism for how that overgeneralization happens. As the lead researcher, Dr. Joshua Johansen, puts it, this work opens the door for researchers everywhere to examine the neural mechanisms that mediate higher-order emotions, which are more relevant to human psychiatric conditions. This is a huge step forward from just studying simple, direct fear, and it could genuinely pave the way for more effective treatments. And that leaves us with a final thought to ponder. As you go about your day, think about the things that make you anxious or afraid. How many of those fears are based on a direct, personal experience? And how many are the result of your brain's incredible and sometimes fallible ability to connect the dots?